Let's go.
Good evening and welcome to Enterprise at 8. This is Live Long and Podcast Star Trek Enterprise Rewatch series. It's been over 20 years since tonight's episode Fallen Hero first aired, but we're just getting started here at Enterprise at 8. I'm Jody Simpson, and joining me tonight is my co-host and the man who also wants to walk into a room without feeling like a state visit, Adam Woodward.
Hey guys, how's it going? Sorry I missed you last week.
Welcome back. Well, you were kind of here for a second, were you? You came in.
You were here for a very brief second.
I couldn't hear a damn thing. I would like
we
to
heard
be there
you.
longer.
We
I heard you, but you couldn't hear
right.
us. Yeah. And of course, also joining me is our awesome producer and the man who suffers from a lack of sexual activity, Dave Bader.
Not at all. Once every 7 years or so. But and then rule number one, Jody.
Rule number one. You've got to be seen to get noticed. And I plan on getting noticed.
Good old trip. And of course, who could forget the guy that thinks that this episode has an extreme lack of water polo, Kevin Millard.
Of course, and it has an extreme lack of going to Ryza.
Well, this is the Ryza 3. I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is one of 3 episodes where they try to get to Ryza. And the third episode they actually do get to Ryza. But that's what these 3 are that we're in now. So this is one of 3.
What an arc.
I like to call it the Ryza arc, yes, but
cool.
we'll see. But anyway,
We'll get more Hawaiian shirts like this, Jody.
You're in for a treat, my friend.
Okay,
you're in for a
good,
treat.
good.
Anyway, tonight's episode is, as I said, Fallen Hero. This is the 23rd episode of the series. This is the episode where, escorting a Vulcan ambassador accused of criminal misconduct, the Enterprise comes under attack by a corrupt race. T'Pol asks for Archer's help in defending their charge.
And it's not to correct you, Jody, but it's actually not over 20 years. It's we're just under 20 years by a week. Is this aired May 8th, 2002? I'm sorry. And we are May 2nd today, so 2022. So it's we're a week short of the 20th anniversary of this airing.
Listen, Dave, it's in the script, all right?
All right.
What do you want
Just
from me?
Just saying. Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I got to be factual, you know?
Yeah, I know for sure. Overall, I didn't mind this episode.
What?
thought
I think
okay.
it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, me too. I love this episode.
Okay, I'm okay with Adam saying that, but
They
do
the
tell,
switcheroo-
Kevin Millard. Do
They
tell.
pulled the switcheroo on me, though. I loved the teaser. I'm like, great, they're going to Ryza. We're gonna get weird clothes and quirky, weird episode. I'm in for that. And then they don't do that, and it's still awesome. It's a good episode.
That's coming up, though, just so you know.
Okay.
This was Jody's face a second ago. He was like, what? What?
Unbelievable. Yeah, so the teaser is basically them having dinner, and essentially, I guess, T'Pol basically saying, our efficiency's down by 3%. Obviously, you guys aren't getting laid.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what this whole scene is.
Yeah, I thought the next scene was. I mean, the next dialogue was a little weirder when they're talking about going to get a rub and tug, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how it
She's
goes.
literally like pimping out the crew, eh? She's just like, we're gonna go to Ryza.
It's called Ryza.
You're going to Ryza. You
Ryza.
guys suck at your jobs. And you need some Ryza time.
You need to get some action. Is what?
Yeah.
Oh, apparently my dog's happy. All right. Overall the teaser was interesting, but I agree with Kevin there. It really was kind of a bait and switch for sure. But it worked out, I guess.
For sure.
The most part.
Good.
They are going to get there, right? To Ryza eventually?
Yes. 2 episodes from now they get to Ryza.
Oh, it's good because I
Because
love me some Ryza.
In next week's episode, they're on their way to Ryza and they get delayed again. And then
It just
episode after,
builds the
they get to
anticipation
Ryza.
for them, Jody. It just builds the anticipation.
Yeah. But obviously the whole Ryza plot thing is supposed to be a callback, especially of Next Gen, because Ryza was very heavily influenced in Next Gen. So,
and also in the more recent season of Star Trek Discovery with Ruan Tarka. Where is my clip? Oh, here it is.
I was never understood on Ryza. The pleasure planet, surrounded by idiots.
surrounded by idiots on the pleasure planet. I
don't get that reference because I didn't see it.
Oh, well, there's a Rysian character he's a very smart guy. He's like the super smart guy of the 32nd century, and his name is Ruin Tarka, and he's kind of a malcontent. He doesn't quite fit in with his native Rysians, and he talks about that he left. Anyway,
what's the qualifications to be a native Rysian?
Be a member of the species.
Just have to sit around all the time, and
they're a species. They're not just
species, but yeah.
Yeah, he's. I think it's born on the planet. Member of the species helps. That's about it.
Yeah,
I got nothing else beyond that.
I've gone ahead and watched the next couple episodes because I remembered the fact that this was supposed to be the Rise of 3. Is this the episode where they say that the masseuses have 12 fingers on each hand? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I left that specifically out of my intro. I was going to actually use that, and then I'm like, I can't remember if it's this episode or the one after that they mention it. But anyway,
do we get to see that?
I don't think so. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen these ones, so these aren't like the highest episodes that I would just go to if I'm doing a rewatch.
I love that it's a trilogy though of them.
It
just
is
trying to
literally
get to
a trilogy.
That's actually pretty aweson.
Yeah.
It's
By the
like
time
that
they get there,
vacation.
Kevin, their efficiency's down 6%.
Yeah. And then they're on the lookout for girls with 15 fingers on each hand instead. But yeah. Anyway, the plot around this episode is obviously they get sidelined by a call from essentially, this goof who I absolutely can't stand. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but every time I see him on screen, I'm just like,
He's like the nicest boss in the world.
Yeah, and he's but he's also like almost naive, I guess. He's like the most naive high-end guy there is, right?
He also doesn't know what's going on. He's like, well, you're there, so like do whatever.
The only thing I do like about him is he's like, well, it's your decision what to do.
Yeah.
You're the one out
when
there.
He's getting shot at, and he's like, the Vulcans are super mad about this, as mad as Vulcans get. And he's like, well, you could order me to do it. And he's like, I wouldn't do that.
But of
He's
course,
not
they
like
had
every other admiral in Starfleet, is a complete dick sometime, and then this guy is not.
He's like the original. He's the original admiral.
But so basically, like, and of course they had to bring back the whole like, oh, the Vulcans aren't telling us anything, thing that they like to do in the first season. But I guess kind of calls into the fact that, later on we see T'Pol kind of have a moment with Archer. She kind of almost breaks down, at least how a Vulcan can break down, and basically begs for help.
Trust me, and like the thing is, that the Vulcans and Vulcan and Earth have had this relationship for 90 years, as they talk about in this episode. But like, there's also this whole factor around that like they don't. I don't know. Like it's complicated at best, right?
Yeah.
It's a friendship, but it's weird and.
I like their scenes in this one though. This is one of those episodes where Archer doesn't bug me, which is rare.
He doesn't bug you not talking to the screen. Just
well, he did do that a little. Yeah, he still did that a little.
When later on in the episode, when she comes on the bridge and he offers her his seat, I'm like, well, somebody might as well use it. Like,
he's like, I'm sorry, it's cold, but after you sit in it a while, it'll be fine. The one thing I did like, though, was the attention to detail in this episode. Did you notice that Hoshi's quarters are on the opposite side of the ship now?
Yeah, but she did say she had a roommate before.
Yes.
And now she's been promoted to, her own room.
Yes, but I did like the fact that the door is on the opposite side of the wall, which would indicate that it's on the opposite side.
We were all looking for that because, that's important.
I was just looking for a window. There was one. There was
one.
But was it going the right way, Dave?
Yeah.
I was just like, is there a window? Like, that's the first criteria here, and then I'll let it go after that. And so it was the stars are going the wrong way, Captain.
But anyway, I thought that was it. I thought that was a neat little nod to a previous episode.
Coming back to Admiral Forrest a second, I hate his uniform.
Oh,
yes.
Like
what about it specifically?
I don't mind the jumpsuit so much,
terrible.
but I don't like the tie.
The tie, yeah, I guess it, but it's like, I don't know, like. Actually,
it looks like suit jammas. It doesn't look like a suit or like a uniform. It's like pajamas. Like he just got out of bed and he wears that.
He just kind of throws it on for the video call.
I like it better than Archer's uniform, because at least it's got like it feels like a kind of a transition between like naval admiral uniform, like of Earth, like, you know, the past of our time, right, and something that would be more futuristic and spacey.
Dave, I think I wouldn't mind so much if it didn't have the tie. Like it just looks
odd. The tie is kind of out of place.
It's very bulky to have that, you know, that nice tight tie underneath it. That's all I feel.
Well, and it's a jumpsuit and it's supposed to be kind of zippered up, right? So like if you have it open like that and a tie being exposed, it almost feels like he put these carryalls on.
It doesn't, like, to me, I mean, the admirals should have a dressy uniform, but I think it's lost.
The whole piping around the shoulders is still so strange to me, like that they were doing it at this time, because it's a nod to what they'll do later on, or that's already happened, but this is the past.
It's supposed to be a utility uniform, right? Like that's the whole point. It's supposed to be a cross between like the space travel uniforms and you know, a utility uniform.
Like
the collar is ridiculous.
Big flary collar. Yeah. I don't like. I'm still just trying to get around. Like, how many ships does Starfleet even have? And does he talk to other captains than Archer? And what are they up to?
And how did he become an admiral? How'd you get to be an admiral, Mr. Forrest?
Yeah. Well, to be an admiral, you have to command many ships, right? Like that's the whole idea of an admiral. You're a commander of a fleet. They are called Starfleet. There must be a fleet, right?
There is a fleet, but this is the first long range.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between them. But yeah, I still get the impression that there's still like ships that they have in the actual, like, you know, in the solar system.
But they're slow.
That patrol around and stuff like that. Yeah.
Not interesting ships.
Yeah.
I guess.
But you could also one could say that, you know, it's, you know, he's an admiral of the Navy. You know, he could still be, you know, an admiral of ships on sea as well. It's not just you know, it could be all amalgamated now, right?
I don't know.
One central force.
Reed's father would be more happy if that was true, I think. And he was like, the ocean wasn't big enough for him. He's got to go to space or whatever.
You've got world peace at this point. Do you need Navy ships?
Yes.
Well, Reed's dad thinks so.
Well, that's what I'm saying is maybe they were kind of amalgamated right into the thing. So maybe he was an admiral from, you know, the Navy, and then, you know, it carried over to this new force, which eventually would be Starfleet. So either way,
I can't say you're wrong about that, but I don't think that would be the case. I think that it's more likely that there's a small fleet of starships, I guess, that, you know, that they've built over the last.
Well, it might work like, you know, the Jacos type mentality where, you know, you have one head for each branch, but if there's only one branch now, then you just have a couple admirals that are, you know, kind of in charge. If you notice though, his deltas, he has 3. He doesn't.
Yeah, he's a vice admiral.
Yeah, he's a vice admiral. So it's, you know, they could have a couple vice admirals, and then there's an actual like full blown admiral which runs the entire thing. So, but yeah, well, maybe he's just maybe he's the vice admiral in charge of the space portion of things.
The other part we don't ever really get a good sense of is what is Earth's government? Like, who's the president of Earth, and how does that work?
Know that at this point. Yeah,
Discovery did a pretty good job of that. You know,
that's like
last season,
1,000 years after these events.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I think that's one thing that Star Trek was actually kind of weak on, is like showing us what was happening back home. You know,
but I think that was on purpose though, because the whole point was to kind of give you this utopian idea and take you away from it, right? Like it's, you know, it's almost like the Wild West again, right? So
the yada 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 of it is brought up in this episode, because it's like, well, you know, because this ambassador Valar, right? She's like, well, you guys had just come out of a nuclear war, a world war, and now you want to join the interstellar community. Seem premature. And he's like, but we've been on good behavior for like 90 years. Isn't that worth something? I'm like, okay, well, how did that work? And like, there must have been some difficulties in those 90 years.
But in a way that makes sense though, because if you have literally a species that under 100 years ago was blowing the shit out of each other, do you really want them running around with space travel? Like, do you think that that's a great
Maybe not.
idea?
No, I'm not saying. I don't think she's
so
wrong.
I kind of like that idea that they put that in there because in a way it makes sense, right?
But Archer and Trip and the rest of these humans and Admiral Forrest, for that matter, they're all presented as being very enlightened, very. They've kind of worked past all the issues and they're ready to go into space, right? But like they've.
Oh, then
held
explain
back.
Malcolm.
Well, he's fine. Like, well, I think you need.
Malcolm wants to kill everything. Like, it's like
He likes the shooting back part, as he tells us in this one.
yes.
If you must know, I much prefer the shooting back part.
Yeah, but like he's not aggressive. He doesn't want to.
I do like. Speaking of that, though, I do like that one scene where he's like, it's nice to actually have something to do. Like, I should have something to do here.
Yeah, and guess what? It's not fixing the cannon so they can fire during warp.
That's
Or-
my favorite moment.
Installing them at all.
Yeah.
This is my Archer. This one.
Well, you have
What
to
do you mean we
wonder
can't
who's-
fire them at warp?
What do you mean? How does he
You
not
have
know
to-
that?
But you have to wonder who really would be responsible for that, because technically engineering would have to control the cannons. So therefore, is it really their fault, or is it
Listen,
the armory's fault?
Jody, this is no excuse for this. They've already been down the road. They've discovered they don't have enough firepower. Then they
Even mentioned that. They even mentioned that later on, right?
They installed them, and now we find out they can't work like unless you're going at impulse.
Look, here's
How does Archer not know what his like tactical capabilities are?
Well,
good question.
Archer.
He's
maybe if he sat in his
because
chair
he's
longer
looking the
than
other way all the time.
Yeah.
they are
the screens
least
are the
prepared.
screens are probably like behind him or something, or they're on the console of his chair and he can't read them because he's never
He's
there.
never seen-
Yeah, I'm with Adam on this. Like the fact that he doesn't even know the capabilities of his own weapons, his engines, even this whole thing. Like it's called a Warp 5 engine.
It's called a Warp 5 engine. On paper.
Everything's on paper. Everything's just theoretical to him. He's just
We
like,
have 3 pulse cannons on paper.
on paper.
We have 3 pulse cannons in boxes.
in boxes.
Archer is a stick and rudder man, says Dad. So,
There you go.
yeah,
Exactly.
he is.
But
Like-
yeah. No, well, it's the same thing that we've seen in, look at the Enterprise B. They left space dock without
Yeah.
a tractor beam.
It's getting installed
Tuesday.
on Tuesday. But that was
And
that was just for a spin around Pluto. They knew better than to try to go and do anything. Archer's the exact opposite. He's like, "What do we got? Does it work? Go, let's go," as he says in our intro there. The fact that they survived any of this is remarkable. Like, I guess it's just like it's all scripted and fake, of course, but like.
But again, that's also one of the reasons why I like the show. It's a imperfect Starfleet. I like that.
they're very imperfect.
Very
Yes.
imperfect.
Very
Yeah.
imperfect.
Anyway, I think we've gone off on a little bit of a tangent here.
We haven't talked about the episode.
We should probably talk about the episode.
I kind of like the episode until I start talking about Archer, and then I fall apart.
Yeah, I didn't remember. Oh, right, it's Enterprise. Yeah, here we go.
But anyway, so they get this communique that basically says they have to go pick up this ambassador, Vulcan ambassador on, I can't remember the name of the planet. Do you have that one?
Yeah, it's
Mazar.
Mazar. Yeah, and apparently we find out a little bit later that she actually has committed some sort of crime, and that's the reason why she's being asked to leave. Basically being told to leave, I guess, is a more better way to say it. So now the Enterprise has to go pick them up instead of going to Risa, which, let's all be honest, that really is kind of shafty. But what can you do? I guess you have to be the intergalactic taxi service first before you can go to Risa and have fun with the 12-finger woman. But what can you do? So,
yeah, and it was like the Vulcans aren't close enough, and so we're gonna.
Yeah, the Vulcans are 7 days out or something like that, and she has to be extracted immediately, probably for her own safety, which we find out later makes sense because these people are literally do want her there so they can kill her, essentially.
But the Vulcans also have a Warp 7 engine, and they should be able to get there faster. So that's curious. That they
But is it on paper, Dave? Or is
it's
it
on
in
paper.
reality?
It's only on
Oh, okay.
paper. Yeah. That's also established in this episode because remember he turns around, goes halfway back to this planet, then he gets turned around by T'Pol and he decides to go towards the rendezvous again, and then like they go really fast and then they meet up with the Vulcans at the very end. But it is
If we
curious
have to
that
review the episode at this point because that's pretty much the whole thing.
maybe Archer was onto something, that there's something to the fact that Like, why couldn't they have sent their own ship to do this? Like, it's why?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because then we wouldn't have such a great episode. What do we all think of the ambassador?
Oh,
I thought she was great.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
She was in that Next
she
Gen
was
episode where she was like Data's mother.
Data's mother.
Yeah.
I love that episode.
This is Fiona Flanagan, great actress. She's from Ireland. She's been in a ton of stuff, not just Star Trek, of course. She was great in this episode. I thought that this Vulcan was like very different, like still true to the Vulcans, but
yeah, she's like
nailed the awkward handshakes.
Thank you.
And you have T'Pol running around going, I need to make everything right for this ambassador. And then we find out that this ambassador is kind of like the chilled version of an ambassador. She's taking on a lot of the things that humans do, and she's learning a lot about humans, and she seems fascinated, which is interesting. So
I love the fact that along the way, T'Pol's sort of learning a little lesson from her. You don't have to be so damn rigid all the time and you shouldn't be if you're going to be successful. In interspecies relationships.
Yeah.
Well,
and one of the sorry, good.
Well, so I do like that this is the whole episode is called Fallen Hero because this is supposed to be T'Pol's hero, right? This is who she kind of grew up idolizing as much as a Vulcan can. Met her and then she gets all disappointed by her, right? It's kind of, but then it turns out,
well, that's why they say never meet your heroes, right? So, and I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people. The thing I like about this is kind of that, the fact that she's more interested in hanging out with Hoshi than she is hanging out with T'Pol. She wants to hang out with Hoshi, which, let's be honest, I wouldn't have saw that coming. But
I love T'Pol's face here when she's sniffing around Hoshi's quarters.
She's like
that odor,
Yeah,
the odor. The human scent is difficult to mask.
It's very difficult. It's just like. And what was this picture that she had removed that was Hoshi's?
I think it was like a black and white picture of like somebody in Hoshi's family or something like that.
It looks like maybe Japanese or something.
Yeah.
So she's like, get it out of here. That's good. That Vulcan.
That's gonna piss her off. Yeah. She's very minimalistic and blah blah blah.
But I love that she wasn't what T'Pol was expecting.
That she was surprised. T'Pol.
And one of the best scenes in this episode is when they're having dinner and she makes this joke. I can't remember exactly what the joke was about, but basically like Trip is like, oh, it was about her age. Yeah. He's like, oh, well, you've been doing this for like 90 years. Wow, that's impressive. And she's like, you're never supposed to ask a woman their age, blah blah blah. And he gets really like kind of worried about what happened, and I just like the scene. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I like this whole dinner scene. Yeah, I like that. She said that she was negotiating with the Andorians before they even established official contact with Earth. And so that puts her at least, she's probably like 200, 300 years old. She's like, well, me and T'Pol are older than everybody on this ship, just so you know, in case you didn't know that. Quick time out here. Sam wants to know, is anyone watching the playoffs tonight or this year? And he's going, go Leafs, go.
Yes, go Leafs, go.
I support the Leafs, Sam, but I'm a Calgary Flames supporter first. And
I don't support the Leafs. But anyway.
Do you know it was 55 years ago?
Racing, Sam.
55 years ago yesterday, they won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it's my dad's been chasing that dream since he was
back when there was 5 other teams. It must have been hard. Anyway,
when there was 6 teams, they won all the time. Kinda.
No, they didn't.
Actually, they didn't.
Actually, they did. So I support the Leafs, but if they're playing the Flames in the final, they can go down.
You don't have to worry about that. The Leafs won't even be making it out of the first round. But anyway,
it's a tough first round.
Tampa's a tough team to play first. Whereas on Calgary's side, join up with Calgary, Sam. That's where it's at. They're playing.
I would
Dallas.
like to see Calgary go all the way this year.
I think our chances this year. I think we'll get past the Stars, and then Edmonton is probably next. Depending, what happens in that.
Battle of Alberta again.
That would be awesome. That hasn't happened since the '80s, so that would be
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the episode.
It's been 20 years since Canadian. 20. Yeah, I remember. I lived in Montreal when the Habs last won it, and But we've had some close ones, like the Flames almost won in 2004 in particular. So it
hasn't been 22 years. It was 93. Yeah, 93. So that would put it at
20. Well, it was 30 years, right? 30 years since the Canadian team won.
Been a little bit more than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, Calgary
won in 89. Montreal won in
93.
93.
Yeah.
Well, and Edmonton won in 90. So there was a good stretch there.
93.
You know who didn't win in the 90s? The Leafs. Anyway.
You know okay, never mind. I don't want to get started. The 93 run was awful. Gretzky, and then we lost the
Gretzky high stick. I still think Montreal would have pulverized the Leafs in that final that year, which they
would have, yeah.
But
okay, sorry,
anyway,
Kevin.
Let's move on. I'm curious as to why Kevin's name is effing Kevin.
Because of Trivial Debates yesterday. He was.
Okay.
Kevin walked away with this game. Like he was just like dominating. He won like the first 5 rounds, and like we're just like
first 3, and it got Eamon so like he was just like, I'm giving it fucking Kevin. Like
it's stuck. So that's where it went from. Can we talk about these aliens that they met in the episode?
Sure.
The Mazarians or whatever the hell they're called. I don't think we've
Floppy
ever...
cheeks.
Weird cheeks and weird like streaky white hair, like Reed Richards or something going on here. I don't know what the heck this look.
That's what
was.
I thought of when I saw them too, Reed Richards.
I don't think we've seen these aliens before. I'm just quickly gonna look them up.
No, I don't think so.
I think they're a one-off too. I don't think we'll see them again either.
It seems to be the case.
Yeah, I don't think we see them at all again in Enterprise, and I doubt we'll ever see them again anywhere else.
Yeah, according to Memory Alpha, this is one and done with these guys. But I get the impression that they're kind of an allegory for maybe like certain countries where drug cartels kind of really run the government, and that's kind of what it's explained to us, right? That they're kind of like a seedy planet, but there's good people there too, and they're kind of take it, that they want to get rid of the criminal element. But yeah, like this guy, he's like, hey, we're here to take your ambassador back. And, Archer's like, huh? I didn't have to check with my orders. I got to go back to my, gotta call up Admiral Forrest, Mr. Nice Boss. And find out
gotta go call up
Mr.
Mr. Nice Boss,
where
get a raise.
Archer was actually right. Like, I mean,
we're not going to discuss that, Sam.
It's the devils. But anyway,
all I can say is our Stanley Cup pictures are in color.
They are, and you guys have like good and bad years. The Devils. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. I don't even know what I was going to say now. Oh, Archer. As much as I can't stand the man, at least he has maybe I shouldn't just turn around and go back. There's something wrong here. But
he's questioning it. Yeah.
But at the same time, there's some things that he just doesn't need to know. If they tell him to go somewhere, he's supposed to go there.
Yeah, that's one thing that does bug me about Archer, especially in the first 2 seasons. But then, literally everything is like, oh, well, I need to know why this is happening or I'm not doing it. It's like, that's not how that works.
That's what happens when you have a boss that doesn't tell you to do something. He says, oh, you do what you want.
Yeah. Well, you're out there. You're out there, John.
You're out there. If you have to go attack, the Andorians, just go do it.
Yeah, that's basically Forrest's job. He's just always balancing Soval on one shoulder, and
they should have called him Admiral Forrest Gump.
It doesn't bother me because that's what all the captains are like in all the series. Like Picard needs to know why he's doing things. He's not.
Yeah, but there's a lot of times where he doesn't, and he doesn't bother.
There's sometimes they just get orders and they follow.
But if something is a little awry, he's like, "Wait a minute, I'm not following these fucking orders. We're gonna figure this
questions
out."
It.
Sometimes you need
but
to
like literally
morals.
Admiral Forrest could say, I need you to make a 2-degree course correction so you don't hit a meteor, and he'd be like, oh, is that so? Let me ask you again. Why is that? Why are we doing this?
Are you the one out here, Admiral Forrest?
Yeah, are you out here, Admiral Forrest? I have a view screen.
But what are the Vulcans hiding?
I can't see it because I'm never looking straight.
These damn Vulcans. I was on my way to vacation with 12-fingered masseuses, and now that's all ruined.
And now they're like, go pick up our ambassador. Meh.
Yeah, go do some courier duty. Can we also mention Archer's pajamas?
They are some pajamas.
I don't know about you.
I felt the scene was a little awkward.
I'm buying these pajamas.
I don't know what that was from, but it wasn't from this episode.
I got to tell you, like sitting on the bed when my first officer's in the room, think that was a little awkward scene. I don't know if you guys felt the same.
Yes, I agree. It was just like
I didn't feel awkward about it, but it was definitely a little too casual, but also he's off right now. Like he's not like
I know,
just
but
'cause
maybe
you're
he
the
could
captain
swing his
doesn't mean
legs,
that-
and sit on the bed rather than like.
Well, he's not doing like the full like David Hasselhoff thing or anything, but it's a little weird. But he's supposed to be in his casual clothes. He's off duty right now. It's not like
off
he's
duty a lot in
24
this
hours.
episode.
Well, and that's kind of the whole point, right?
Fuck.
he's got his water polo ball at the ready.
Look at that water polo ball right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's worse about that, Kevin, more than anything, is the fact that I recognize that as a water polo ball.
Yeah. We know what it is now. Best
Yeah,
sport
we know
in
what
the
it
world.
is. Best sport in the world.
Was that last week's episode?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We there was a lot of water polo guys screwing around in a pool references.
Yeah,
All kinds of things.
yeah.
Hey, did you see? And is that Zephram Cochrane on his shelf there, looking up at the stars? Go
is
back
it?
one more. There you go.
Yep. That's the Zephram
Yeah, it's
Cochrane.
him pointing at the
Totally
stars. Yeah.
Actually, there's like in Star Trek Online, you can go to like Bozeman,
Yeah.
Montana, where they show the statue that Jody describes in First Contact. Like,
Yeah.
him.
They
That's
actually
kind of
made it in the game. Yeah.
You're kind of reaching up to the sky, and all that.
I also
But
like the plane flying over the Golden Gate. I thought that was pretty cool too. So
Yeah.
a
I was watching
reference
this-
to where Starfleet is, right?
This came out on the Golden Gate. I was watching this show last night called Bullshit with Howie Mandel on Netflix, where you have to it's trivia, and you basically, if you don't know the answer, you can bullshit these other people and get it right. But one of the questions was about the Golden Gate Bridge. Apparently, it hums. It has like a humming sound, and
It has
I
a
didn't know
resonant
that.
frequency thing. Yeah.
Has a resonant, and you can there was like a concert duet CD. That was what the question was about, and I was like, I didn't.
Yeah, it has something to do with the suspension wires.
Yeah, so if you're standing
I
there,
guess
it will have like
they
an
have a
eerie.
certain
They called it
spacing to them or
eerie,
something?
an eerie hum to it.
Yeah, I've never been there, so I can't judge that, but I have heard that before.
Yeah, these are his quarters or his ready room.
This
is
is
his
definitely his
quarters.
quarters. He's got his bed in there.
Yeah, he's got the
Yeah,
pajamas, right?
And the dog is there.
Yeah. Okay.
So
It's very similar. He's got a Zephram Cochrane statue, okay, and a water polo ball.
Yeah.
But right after, they already been attacked by one ship, right?
yeah, they were attacked by one ship as they were going, and then he's like, "Okay, well, I guess we better, haul ass back there."
Yeah.
And so he starts hauling ass back there, and that's when
I don't
that's when
understand his decision to go back. That's what I don't understand. Why go back?
What he says in the episode is that that he wants answers, and he's not going to get them from the ambassador, so he's going to try to get them from the Mazarians.
Yeah.
kind of
because she's not telling him what's going on, and at this point he feels that the ship might be in danger, so he needs to know.
You've had Mazarians shoot at you. You haven't had any Vulcans shoot at you, so maybe go to the Vulcans first.
Your
Yeah.
allies.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be
Your
allies.
allies, yes. Even if you don't really trust them all that much, they're not actively trying to kill you.
And we know they have better weapons. We know they have faster ships.
Right.
Holy cow.
We never see these guys again, but then she's like, have some iced tea with me, T'Pol. And she's like, I don't like it. I
don't care for it.
I don't care for it. I like mint tea, chamomile.
Well,
Noise.
just to be clear though, this was iced tea with passion fruit in it, which is just kind of
And passion fruit. And she's like, that's like Archer. He's passion fruit. Jonathan Passion Fruit Archer.
I love all of their interactions, her and T'Pol.
Yeah.
It's really great.
It's just it's a nice episode.
I love earlier when she says there are emotions too. We just hide them better.
Yeah.
That was good.
Like
Yeah.
She's actually like enlightened as a Vulcan,
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think that you find that in Vulcans as they get older. I mean, Spock is very different from the show all the way to Star Trek 6, right?
Sarek becomes more enlightened as the
Right.
Even Tuvok, right? Even though as much as Tuvok's got to stick up his ass, even Voyager, he kind of talks about how when he was serving with Sulu, he's like, I hated humans like at first. It sucked. And then I left. I went and did Kolinar, but I got horny and I got married, and then I had kids, and I was like, you know what? My parents were right. I should go out here and give these humans a shot. I'm paraphrasing, but
a little
good job. Doing a good job.
Not bad though.
Right. And then it's like, so he's like, okay, T'Pol, I'm going to trust you. We're going to go back to meet up with the Vulcans. And this is where they get attacked by the 3 ships coming at them.
But this is where he's like the indecisive captain again. Like, make a decision, buddy. Stick with it.
Yeah. Why are you literally going down the same corridor 4 times? Like you're, oh, I'm going this way. Nope. Now I'm going this way. Nope. Gonna go that way again. It's like, all
but
right.
You know what? Like, okay, I'm just getting angry about this again because Archer, I just said he's their ally. And now he's trying to like, I'm going back. You're going to go back to the planet we just came from. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, because this kind of goes back to what Archer is, though, which is a guy who doesn't trust Vulcans, and he does show it every so often, especially in the first season, definitely in the second season a little bit, and then at that point we're done.
Look what he did on that monastery planet. I mean, like, come on, like he's just.
Yeah, it seems like he's like
to
the
his
wrong
credit,
guy.
he didn't trust them, and that turned out to be completely correct. The Vulcans were being assholes. So,
well, were they, or were they just being, defending their own interests?
I think you can make an argument there. I think that the fact that there's no trust between, or very little trust between Vulcan and Earth at this point, and their alliance is sort of weird, I guess. But like Earth needs Vulcan, right?
Yes,
like
they do.
Yeah,
and you've got your boss back home trying to manage them for you because you're always pissing them off.
I'll talk to Silva, I'll smooth it over or whatever.
And but they show that the mistrust isn't misplaced either, because there's no reason for the Vulcans to hide any of this.
Well, I think it goes
from
both
them
ways,
if they're
Kevin.
allies, right?
You're right, and that's
logic.
Yeah, you don't need to know, Kevin.
Well, the main thing is, the one thing that it's showing is, I think, is that the Vulcans are definitely very mindful of their reputation. And that's kind of the thing that they're always trying to hide. They're always trying to hide if they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing and stuff like that. Like if we look at the monastery episode, that's a perfect example. Oh, well, we don't do anything like that. And it turns out there's a whole base there dedicated to spying on another race. Like it's so. When you look at something like this, it's like, oh, she was just there and they got angry and that's it. It's like, no, that's not what happened. She obviously something else happened. So they're always trying to hide, and they're always trying to, put out the best face forward for themselves, even though they're a race that isn't supposed to care about that stuff. But
like they seem enlightened on one hand, and like they see like this danger in humanity, like I think justly so, that we, like she says in the episode, we come out of almost destroying ourselves in the previous century. But then on the other hand, they've obviously stuck around and helped us a lot, and they're defending us, and they've, whatever. And so it's kind of like the only glimpse you get of an authority figure outside of Archer is Forrest, right? And he when Soval walks into the room, he's like, "Hey, Soval, my buddy," And
Dave, don't you think they do a good job though in this episode of explaining that it's just really a blink of the eye? It's 90 years, but for
it's barely anything to them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I think that we're reminded that the Vulcans live longer, so therefore it's.
But for humans, like, you got to get on with it. We only have 50 years of adult life when you can do something.
Yeah.
We don't have the time, and I think that's sort of maybe another misunderstanding between the two races, right?
Yeah. That they're always like
90 years to us is like, well, if you look at
a lifetime. It's a lifetime.
None of us were alive when World War II happened, right? But that is only how many years ago, like
70 years ago.
75 80 years ago. So with that, it's when we think about World War II, that's like a past thing but there's people that are still on this planet that were alive when that happened, like so
right.
For us it's like a lifetime, but not for everybody. Whereas with Vulcan, 90 years is just a drop in the bucket for them. Like they don't care, right? Like it's like that was them going to the Science Academy.
I think obviously, like, we're working that all out here. I think humans, and you think Archer would be smart enough to kind of like come to this realization, but no.
You would not think that. If
you'd have to explain it in water polo terms.
Yeah, it's like you can't touch the bottom of the pool. It's some kind of metaphor there, or something like that.
We only get 2 periods of play. and the Vulcans get like 8 periods of play.
It's like wrestling and basketball and volleyball or whatever the hell they do it. It's swimming. Anyway, I digress. Where are we at? The fight, the battle. They're getting chased. Yes. And then I liked everything with like the whole, we have to go fast. Let's like, let's just try to outrun them because like they can't. But
that is a logic. Like
it is. No, I liked it.
If you have a warp 5 vessel and you're not going warp 5, well, fucking, start, there's the one scene where I think it was Sulu that says it in Undiscovered Country. They're like, our hull's going to break. And he's like, well, then break that damn thing. Fly it apart. Fly it apart then, like that kind of thing. And I like that. It brings us a little bit more, tension and stuff like that, but it's also exciting, right? Like,
I had this roommate in college that he wasn't really into Star Trek, but I got him there. But he would always go, why don't they just go warp 7 when they can go warp 8? Like, let's get there faster. Why go slower?
My car can do 200 kilometers an hour, but it's not going to have a good time at that point.
Right.
Like
there's a cruising speed and then a top speed, right?
Yeah. There's an emergency speed that you don't want to get it to. If I have to do 200 kilometers an hour in my car, I will, but I shouldn't have to.
Oh, maybe it's when they're really going slow, like warp 2 or warp 3. Like, what's the point?
Just gotta leisurely go there. I like that this whole chase, I like that the fact that the Enterprise is a little faster, that these aliens, these Mazarians or whatever, they are so desperate about this, right? Like they are really like their ships aren't as fast and they're willing to burn out their engines.
But we find out that these guys that are chasing them are not representing the whole planet. They're kind of one branch.
The government, at least they're kind of like this corrupt government.
Yeah, it's a corrupt government. It's like when the drug lords run, like that kind of thing. It's more like that, right? Where it's organized chaos, I guess.
But that's how desperate they are to hold on to their power, that they're willing to almost like fly their ships apart.
Not only that, but a race that they don't know much about, they're literally willing to have a war for to keep their power, right? Like,
well, they might end up at war with the Vulcans for that.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, is that they're going against the humans and the Vulcans here,
right?
Like I bet on this planet at one point or another they had an election and then they said it was rigged.
Yeah,
like I'm sure somewhere down the line. Yeah.
But like the desperation is very real in the episode from them, which I like. That's the good part of like the of the writing. And and we just see like like Trip's like trying to like can we please slow down?
Please tell me you're ready to slow down.
But the one thing I did like about this episode was Trip, because Trip isn't really annoying in this episode. He's kind of fun. And he has general concerns which make perfect sense. Like, this is a guy who's like, we're in this prototype ship, basically. We supposedly could do warp 5, but we're not doing that, and
only on
probably
paper.
Shouldn't do that.
he's the typical Star Trek engineer now. Like he's
turning into a Scotty.
Right. It's the whole flying the ship apart and fires and saying, "Oh, Captain, we can't do it." That's all classic. Just classic Star Trek. I love it.
But what about Mayweather? Can we talk Mayweather and how this grin on his face when he's like,
fucking Mayweather. He's the only guy that never matches the mood of the bridge. Like everybody's like, "Oh, this is a desperate time," and Mayweather's like,
"If you ain't first, you're last, Captain."
God, Risley.
He literally never matches the mood. Like he's that awkward kid that like never fit in with anybody.
Yeah, he is the weirdest character.
He's just such a weird character.
Like all he did was like push the dial up. He's not doing anything.
He's like, let's punch it.
Yeah,
like that's literally all he does. He's like,
all the hard work's in the engine room.
Yeah,
right. So it was.
Yeah, he's like Star Trek Fast and Furious.
And then I was like, I guess this is as fast as humans have gone, but like there's probably a few humans that have been.
Well, this is the first time that the ship has hit warp 5, right? Like this is it.
And you got smoke billowing out of those intake or outtake things.
Oh yeah, this fucker doesn't want to go warp 5. It's going, but it's not happy. Just the oil change alone after this is gonna suck.
It's called the almost warp 5 engine. Warp 4.99.
It's probably like on paper, it probably says it's warp 5 engine, and then it has like an asterisk, and it's like do not exceed 4.7.
But this is also consistent with like the D, right? Like
Yep.
they it's a warp 10, but they go
It's a warp 10,
They
but
start
it
flying
never goes to
apart
warp
at
10.
warp 9.9.
Yeah, it can't make it a warp 10.
Yeah, like every ship, Voyager was like the one that can go the fastest of all of them, right? And like it's weird. Like you look at the warp scale, it's like warp 5 is twice as fast as warp 4, and even like warp 9.5 is like much faster than 9.4. And
well, and if
like,
you look at the technical manuals that they've had, that like I can't remember the chap's name, the guy who designed most of the stuff. What's his name?
Okuna.
Yeah. He basically has said, warp 10 is the maximum. There is nothing faster than that. And that's the reason why all these ships can only do like 9.7, 9.6, something like that, because warp 10 would be infinite speed or something like that. Like it's the way that's classed out. But
transwarp.
And Voyager kind of broke that idea, but
transwarp's like the next level, or like
transwarp is the one that you can like bounce
and
from.
Of
like
course,
sector
spore
to
drive,
sector.
Jody. Don't forget about spore drives. Black alert.
Don't even get me started on spore drive. Spore drive is such a pain in the ass. I think it's so stupid.
You go,
but anyway. Yeah,
do a little spinny thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a sore subject. I'm not gonna bring it up. All right.
Please don't.
Yeah. Anyway, so they eventually do. They're not. They have to get through the jammers, right, and all that, and then they kind of hope that the Vulcans are going to show up here at the end.
Did we like the conclusion to this episode though?
Yeah.
With the whole Phlox thing. She's dead and she's in the thermal regenerator.
An Oscar.
Yeah, that was good. He was again. He's not enough. He's not in it enough, and he was fantastic when he is.
Yeah. I will not open this thermal regenerator thingy.
Yeah. And then they shoot it.
Yeah.
He was very convincing that she was in there.
Yeah, absolutely. He deserves an Oscar.
These were like were these just guns? Like these were just like
yeah, it looks like it. They had like projectiles in them for sure.
Yeah, they were projectile based. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just like they leave all these bullet holes here. They're just supposed to be like
they all had gray hair on the side. Look at that. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. It's an interesting look.
I wonder if they're born that way or if that's just the style of the times.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Hey, you didn't talk about the Vulcan ship, by the way.
I have a shot of that.
I think the Vulcan ships are the ugliest things that they ever made.
Yes, I totally agree.
I like them.
And the fact that their shuttles are just miniature versions of the exact same thing.
I think I have a shot
me off
here.
too.
Well, it's not logical to have nice.
They have like a circular warp nacelle thingy going on here, and like
the thing that bugs me about this is in my opinion, is a stolen design, but because we've seen this type of thing in a lot of like sci-fi stuff.
There's a
but every time
in Battlestar.
Yeah, in Battlestar had one. The thing that every time I see the Vulcan ships now like this, I always think of the stuff in Star Wars, because in Star Wars they use these circular things to do basically the warp stuff for little ships, right? Like they're kind of like a warp gate kind of thing, and then they attach to it and go off, right? So I always see these things that are like, man, to do hyperspace. Yeah.
Well, don't you think the Mazar ships look like little silent radars too?
Yeah, they do.
They do. This is before Battlestar, right? Or around the same time Battlestar? No, Battlestar doesn't come out till like 2003, the miniseries.
I think so.
Yeah, but still, I mean, the ships were the same from the 1978 version.
Yeah, the 78 version had ships that look like that, though.
Here's a couple shots of those. Yeah, they're kind of like, they look a little bit like those Raiders and stuff.
Yeah. They look more like them when they're coming.
To me, they just look like they literally took the design of that space creature from Next Gen and just put some thrusters on
Tin
it.
Man?
The Tin Man?
Yeah, Tin Man, yeah.
Well, obviously, like the Vulcan design wasn't as good because all like the future Starfleet vessels go with usually a 2 or a 4 nacelle kind of a configuration like Enterprise has, right? So like there's something to the Enterprise design is better as far as like what they're telling.
Well,
us,
and the Enterprise, the NX refit, which we never got to see on screen, but the NX refit looks amazing
with the secondary hull like added underneath, right? Like
I love the look of that.
Yeah,
so which we got to see in Picard.
Yeah, this moment, like this episode, really reminded me of like that episode recently we saw it in Lower Decks, where like the Vulcans show in Wedge Douche, right, where the Vulcans like show up to fight the Packlids along with the Cerritos, or is it the Cerritos? Yeah, right at the end there. And I just like this Vulcan captain who's just like, we will blow the hell out of you unless you give us.
I did like this. I did like that. Yeah.
Right.
we will destroy their ships on this.
Now, the one thing I will say about this episode is I feel that this episode is one of the exception episodes where it doesn't actually end very abruptly. Like I feel that they did do the ending right in this one.
Yeah.
Which is weird for this because usually they go really too fast and it's just like kind of like a 30-second ending and that's the end of it.
Like, I love when he opens the door and she's just smugly standing there.
Yeah.
And
she's like, hello.
I love that. That was
Hello?
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in my report.
Yeah.
Well, why? Again, they let these guys go at the end. They're like, well, we decided to let them go. I'm like,
But she's got them. That's okay. I think in this episode it's okay because she is going to be reporting back on these guys.
Yeah,
they might as well just take off.
She's got them red-handed. Yeah,
But
at this point they should
that,
just get their ships and take off. Yeah,
I love that they're like, we let them go, but of course the Vulcans aren't telling us why.
Yeah.
Like they still take another dig.
Yeah.
At this point, I just think everybody wanted to go to Ryza, so they're like, get these guys off my fucking ship. I got to go to Ryza.
This was quite the detour for them, the whole thing, and they won't get there next week either. There's something else that's going to come up.
Yes, next week is another episode where they're on their way to Ryza and something happens. So
okay, yeah, it was good. I liked everything with this. I liked this.
It was a good episode.
Her and T'Pol, like, because we haven't met T'Pol's mom yet, right? But we're gonna see her.
Not yet, no.
Yeah, but T'Pol's mom kind of sucks. But
T'Pol's mom's an ass. Yeah.
I wish this was T'Pol's mom. I mean, that
yeah, me too. I think T'Pol wishes it too.
Yeah.
It's like this hero that kind of ends up, even though she's like her faith in her is completely shattered partway through the episode, and it's completely restored.
It's kind of restored at the end the way she handles the situation. And stuff.
I did like earlier on. There's a scene with her with T'Pol and Archer talking about the ambassador. And he says something about meeting his heroes or whatever. And she says Vulcans don't have heroes. And he is just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Sure they don't.
Right. He's like, I'm not gonna get into this. Yeah.
And at the end here, she's like, I feel like you two are a good team. You, T'Pol, like Archer and T'Pol, right? Like you're friends too. I could sense that. Friends. Who would have thought? Like it's almost like she's completely floored by this, that like a Vulcan and a human could really get along. And it's like, what did the Vulcans have? What was their stake in all this? I guess they felt a moral obligation after First Contact to really help humanity come along, but they really didn't want to. It was like, how mad were they at that captain who meets Ephraim Cochrane? Right? Why'd you have to go meet these guys? Why'd you have to get us involved with this shit?
You got us dragged.
This is why we're not curious anymore.
Yeah.
This is why comets aren't interesting.
Comets and gas giants, they're boring.
Yeah, this is why they're not interesting. Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
So that's the end.
But you know what is interesting, Dave?
What's that? Fun facts?
Fun facts with Adam.
Fun facts with Adam. Let's do it.
All right.
A couple? Or do we have more than a couple?
There's a few.
All right. A few.
So a few fun facts with Adam.
All right. So can I get going here? We're good to go?
Absolutely.
You're good.
All right.
You're good.
So one of the writers, Chris Black, he was talking about how they were writing the episode and they wanted an idea of a disgraced Vulcan ambassador to be ferried home. And then when they sat down and started kicking around the story, they decided they'd make it about a woman who had something, being an idol to Paul. And this is the way they got going on it.
Which I think works really well.
Yeah. He pointed out two references in this episode, which are nod to the original series. The first is when Trip Tucker becomes worried about pushing the Enterprise too hard, which is homage to the anxieties that Scotty had. And the other being around the great bond between Archer and T'Pol as a glimmer of what's going to be coming and gets you to the original series.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
I don't think like we'll see. Like I'll see if I change my mind on this, but I don't think Archer and T'Pol remind me of Kirk and Spock really. Like they're different. It's a different dynamic.
Oh, I think season 3 definitely.
Yeah.
Season 3.
I agree. Sure. I think it's
they're almost identical the way that they talk to each other and stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
This marks the first time the Enterprise manages to reach warp 5, even though it's only for a second. This is also the first episode where where it states that the ships cannot fire the phase cannons while at warp, and that scene just drives me crazy. Like how
Archer doesn't even. He should know that.
It's not even the first time we know. It's the first time they know that.
Yeah.
They have phase cannons. Yeah.
What do you mean we can't fire them at warp?
What do you mean? He's like, physics.
They only got installed last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is interesting. This is the first use of the Vulcan Salute, live long and prosper, into Star Trek Enterprise, as said by Villar to T'Pol near the end of the episode.
But she doesn't do the. They don't do the hand gesture.
No, and they don't do the reply either.
But I also think that. But I also think that that's because of this ambassador and how she acts, because she's trying to be more human, like she's trying to interact with humans better. So I think that's the carryover of stuff that she's just kind of unlearned.
Maybe
so,
but she's just talking to T'Pol there, so it seems. But
either way, she's
trying to fit in with humans for 10 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Villar is one of only a handful of female Vulcans whose name does not begin with the letter T. The others are Savick, Salar, Sakona, and Valeris, though her name still includes an apostrophe common to female Vulcan names.
She's like the only other one with a V other than Valeris. They love the letter T on Vulcan.
Mm-hmm.
And S.
And during dinner, Villar comments that she and T'Pol are likely the oldest two people on the ship. Villar must have been at least 89 years to have been alive when the human Vulcan first contact happened. T'Pol was 64 at the time.
I get the impression she's she's a fair bit older than T'Pol is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as promised back in Enterprise Fight or Flight, the stars in Sato's cabin are now moving from right to left, indicating her new quarters on the ship's
I was
side.
Excited to see that.
Yes, you were. All right. I'm going to leave it there.
I thought that was cool. I thought that it was a nice little detail.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Adam. Let's bring in the ratings and figure out what this episode is worth. Let's go to 150 here so we can see it. Okay. Fallen Hero, guys. Jody.
You know what? I'm going to give it an 8. It's right up there with Acquisition. I think Acquisition was a great episode.
Okay, Adam?
I'm with Jody. I'll stick with an 8 today.
And do you have a rating for last week? Did you?
I do. It's a 7.
Okay. I'll give this. I'll go 8.5 on this. I think it was pretty good.
9.5. This
what?
9.5.
Wow.
Whoa.
Kevin.
Is that his highest now?
It's up there. Yeah,
it's up there, but I don't think it's his highest.
I don't think you've given anything that high. You've given a couple 9s out.
You've given out 9s.
Okay.
9.5 is your all-time highest.
This is your favorite episode.
I really
so
enjoyed
far.
this one.
It only took 23, but you got there.
So that averages 8.5 for tonight. This has an 8 on IMDb with just about 1,500 votes. And as mentioned, as every episode this season, it's like all Rick Berman and Braun and Braga, but Chris Black, I guess, being a little bit more involved, and someone named Alan Cross, not the DJ Alan Cross, right? Or
no, not.
I would imagine not
the same Alan Cross. And this episode takes place in 2152, February 9th, more specifically. So anyway. So the next episode, Jody,
I think it always sounds weird when they put actual dates when they're reading their logs, you know?
Yeah, instead of star dates.
Yeah.
It's a bit. It also can cause issues when they decide to flip episodes around, like they do, like that one where it was like earlier this season where like they're like this takes place after the one we just watched, and I'm like, why?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, there is a couple times they do that. But anyway, so the next episode, which is episode 24, that is called Desert Crossing. And when Archer and Trip are invited to a desert-like planet by an alien leader, they discover that he is a terrorist who has lured them onto the planet under false pretenses. Meanwhile, T'Pol, well in command, faces a tough decision that she cannot locate Archer and Trip in the desert. This is actually a really good episode. I've already watched this one. I went ahead and watched this one. The terrorist is played by the guy who was the drill sergeant in
Full Metal Jacket?
No, Starship Troopers.
Oh, Clancy Brown?
Is that his name? I don't know.
Oh, he's great.
I love him. He's always in sci-fi, but he's never like a main character. Like he's always like
he's a supporting actor, that's for sure.
He's always a supporting actor, yeah. But once you see him, you'll know for sure. Let me see if I can find the actual name.
He was in Highlander. He played the Kurgan. He's in what you call it? Shawshank Redemption. He's the prison guard.
Yes, yeah, he was a prison guard in Shawshank. Yeah, I like him. I've always liked him, and I liked him in Starship Troopers, which is still one.
He was
of my
in
favorite sci-fi
HBO
movies ever.
show called Carnival too, which was really good.
Yes, he was in Carnival. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we gotta appreciate a Clancy Brown guest appearance. Yeah, sure. I'm excited for that.
I didn't know that was his name, but every time I see his face, I know exactly who he is. It's like he's got one of those. He's like Ron Perlman. He's like that level. He's always like kind of
Sergeant Zim. That was it.
Zim.
Medic.
Yeah, guy gets his head blown off. Medic!
You
need a medic.
He breaks that guy's arm, and he's just like, medic!
Puts a knife in the guy's hand.
Knife in the hand. Medic!
Jake Busey was in that movie too.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a good movie.
I love that movie.
Would you like to know more? All right, so I think we can wrap up here tonight. Fallen Hero. This was a fun one, guys. It's a good one. So next week, Desert Crossing, and the one after next week, I'm tentative for because
2 days and 2 nights. That's the actual Rise episode.
That's the Rise episode. I gotta maybe try to do it from Davin's place. We'll see. As I'll be in Nova Scotia that day. Anyway, so what else? D Space 99.
There's other things.
There's other podcasts here on Live Long and Podcast, including D Space 99ish, which is on hiatus right now, but we will be returning probably in a few weeks or so once some of this dies down, where I'm not doing 3 in one night or 2 in this case tonight. And so check out our D Space 99 rewatch series up till season 5, episode 15 or so, right at this moment, as well as this Thursday we got double duty, Jody. We got Star Trek Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the premiere, the first episode ever of this show.
I'm excited but also reserved.
Of course. So that's coming out, and the finale of Star Trek Picard is also this Thursday, season 2. It's called Farewell.
I still don't know how they're going to end that series with one episode from where they are right now.
There's a lot of stuff to wrap up. So we're going to probably do Strange New Worlds at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then we're going to do Picard at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Who's on the Strange New World one?
Kevin and I at the moment.
Okay. I might join you for that one if you got room.
If you got time to fit it in, because you got the Picard one too, right, on Thursday.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Yeah, and
I might have to bail early and then jump to the other one.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to keep it into an hour as well, so that's gonna be the other challenge. And then also on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, our other channel that I do with largely with Jeff and Jaemeel, Big Brother Canada 10 is ending this week. Thank God. And so it is tonight. I will be doing the recap episode, the BB Can Awards, guys, the final 4 HOH. There's so many exciting things happening. Wednesday, a special eviction episode to cover, and Thursday is the finale where the winner will be crowned and somebody will get $100,000. So if you like Big Brother Canada, check that out. Sam likes it. I know that. And then Survivor season 42 will be up to episode 9. If you're going to tell a lie, make it a good lie. That's the name of the episode. So if you like Survivor, you like Big Brother, you like different shows that aren't Star Trek, check out our stuff over there, as well as Trivial Debates, our third channel where we talk about movies, TV, or sports, like a game show format. Most recently, just yesterday, we had fucking Kevin competing against Matt George and Tim Seymour. It was an Eamon Mater hosting. Also,
this was I have to say this was one of the most interesting episodes I've watched.
This was like a science experiment that was kind of like
it happened.
It happened.
It was a show.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, things happened. Somebody won. So check that out over there. And what else? Check out Eamon's podcast. Let's talk about fighting games. They talk about King of Fighters and not Mega Man, I think, unless it's a special episode.
Not Mega Man. Not Mega Man. No,
I was correct.
Mega Man is not a fighting game.
But he talked about it on an episode. He's like, "That was different, Dad. That was when it was a special episode I had to do, or whatever." For the listeners,
that's with Sam Jerka.
That's with Sam Jerka and Super Smash Bros. Seth and Paranoia, as well as check out
and Paranoia. Well, you definitely have to tune in then.
the Hellbound Podcast every Wednesday with Alex Blackburn and Discovery Zone Michael Chan, where they talk about horror and different things. And then on what else? What am I missing? Davin's Skellhorn's podcast, Locutors of Trek. They do trivia. They do writers' rooms pitches. They
We're
do
still
all kinds
promoting that bum.
Oh yeah, he was giving us comments tonight. He was.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, he's like, I thought this was about rental cars. He's looking Enterprise. It's a weak joke, maybe. And then also X-Men the Animated Series Rewatch X-Rated that he does every Tuesday with Andre, where they go back and look at all those episodes of X-Men the Animated Series from the early 90s and rate them and talk about them. The X-Rated. And they've done some great interviews with some artists and showrunners and different people over there as well. And yeah, that's it. I think that's all the plugs. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.
And on that, let's make sure we go through some important etiquette, on diplomatic visitors before we come out. Thanks everyone, and good night.
Don't address the ambassador unless spoken to first. Don't offer to shake hands. Refrain from laughing in her presence.